Hello and welcome. My name is Tricia Lauer, and I serve as the Vice President of Assessment and Curricular Affairs at UAGC. I will be the host of this session, Decolonizing Curriculum and Instruction to Promote and Increase a Sense of Belonging Among Minoritized Students. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. The presenters will answer questions at the end of the session. Also, we have enabled live transcription. If you would like to use it, click the live transcription button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Now I'm pleased to introduce to you Dr. Donna Ford and Dr. Eric Hines. And it's my privilege to share a little bit about both of them. Donna Y. Ford, PhD, is a distinguished professor of education and human ecology in the College of Education and Human Ecology at The Ohio State University. She is also a faculty affiliate with the Kirwan Institute and the Center for Latin American Studies. Professor Ford conducts research primarily in gifted and talented education and culturally responsive education. Specifically, her work focuses on closing access gaps, recruiting and retaining culturally different students in talented and gifted education, multicultural curriculum and instruction, culturally competent teacher training and development, Black racial identity, and Black family involvement. She consults with school districts and educational and legal organizations on these topics. Professor Ford has written 15 books and over 300 articles and book chapters. She has made over 2,000 presentations at professional conferences and organizations and in school districts. Eric M. Hines, PhD, is a professor of counseling in the Division of Child, Family, and Community Engagement within the College of Education and Human Development at George Mason University. Dr. Hines prepares graduate students to be counselors in a clinical or school setting. His research agenda revolves around post-secondary readiness for Black males, academic and career outcomes for Black males, parental involvement and its impact on academic achievement for students of color, and career exploration for students of color in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. He has secured over $7.8 million in funding. Additionally, Dr. Hines has accumulated over 75 publications, including 2 co-edited books, as well as an edited book. His research has appeared in many peer-reviewed journals, and he has served as a guest editor for 6 special issues in journals. Lastly, Dr. Hines is a proud American Counseling Association Fellow and recipient of the AIDI Award from the Association for Specialists in Group Work. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Donna Ford and Dr. Eric Hines.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon for our session. We've got a lot that we want to share with you, so we're going to move forward. All right. Thank you for attending again. You already have the abstract, and I just want to say we made one minor change, and that is we're not just going to focus on higher education. We want to focus on P to 12 also. And for a piece on decolonizing higher education literature, you can look for diverse issues in higher education with Dr. Tyson and myself in 2023. So moving forward, this is what we're going to be talking about. Dr. Hines?
Yes. Our topics today include decolonization and belonging definitions, what multicultural education is not and is, the emphasis on is not and is, Banks' model, multicultural curriculum, culture, and Boykin's Afrocentric cultural styles, which is a form of culturally responsive instruction.
Decolonization is about cultural, psychological, and economic freedom for people of color. The goal is to achieve sovereignty, meaning the right and ability of minoritized people to practice self-determination over their land, cultures, and political and economic systems. And then When it comes to belonging and loving needs, we focus on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Again, we're not talking about wants, we're talking about needs. And for today, this session, we're at the third level, and we're talking about a desire to belong, a need to belong, to feel accepted. And this is motivated by a human instinct to interact with others from all backgrounds, just human interaction. We want to share this model with you is 6 dimensions of culturally responsive education. We believe that this creates the sense of belonging that we're talking about, as well as decolonization. So one, we talk about the learning environment. And in that context, it starts with putting your students at the center of all that you do, understanding their culture, their values, their beliefs, their traditions, and more. And of course, honoring them not just as cultural beings, but as individuals. This is the same with families in terms of building relationships and having true partnerships. We don't have time today to focus on assessment, but we'll certainly entertain questions about decolonizing assessments, because as you may know, in 2021, the American Psychological Association finally acknowledged that tests are biased, and they have been complicit in the history of test bias. So no matter what anybody tells you, tests are biased. We'll entertain questions later if needed. We are focusing today on curriculum and instruction. And be mindful, we're focusing on you as education professionals, whatever your discipline is. This is about self-reflection, cultural knowledge, your dispositions about working with minoritized populations. What do you know about us? I have a saying which says, the less you know about us, the more you make up. So in this session, it's the reverse. The more you know about us, the less you make up. Okay, so we're giving you more in terms of knowledge and hopefully skills. Okay, so we're moving forward. So why decolonization is needed? Culturally responsive curriculum is not this.
Parents, I'm going to read a letter from a school here. Parents, during the month of February, Western Union students have been studying Black history. On Tuesday, February 28th, WUS will participate in the Black History Day. We will have speakers from 8 to 10 a.m. We are encouraging students to dress in African American attire. If you do not have this, students could wear animal print clothing or shirts with animals native to Africa, zebras, giraffes, lions, and elephants, and etc. It sounds culturally responsive to me. What do you think, Dr. Ford? And that's with exaggeration and sarcasm.
There's definitely sarcasm. Absolutely not. That has dehumanized us, and these are young children. Okay.
Some Gwinnett County parents are outraged tonight over 3rd grade math homework. It referenced slaves picking fruit and violence. Channel 2's Carrie Kavanaugh's live in Gwinnett County with why one father says the assignment forced him to have a difficult conversation with his son. Carrie.
Monica, those parents contacted us after they read this controversial assignment. They say they were shocked to see math problems talking about slavery and beatings. They tell me they want to know exactly what the teachers here at Beaver Ridge Elementary School were thinking when they wrote them.
I had to explain to him why Daddy was upset because of the words that were used in that problem.
The problem appeared on a 3rd grader's math assignment. Terrence Barnett was outraged when he read his son's homework. One problem said each tree had 56 oranges. If 8 slaves picked them equally, then how much would each slave pick? Then there was another. If Frederick got 2 beatings per day, how many beatings did he get in 1 week?
I'm having to explain to my 8-year-old why slavery or slave or beatings is in a math problem. So, and that hurts.
Dad Christopher Braxton had the same reaction.
It kind of blew me away. Frederick, if anyone got any beatings, you don't put that into the homework of any source.
Both fathers contacted the principal at Beaver Ridge Elementary School in Norcross. Then they called us. They wanted to know how these questions ended up on a child's homework. I brought that question to Gwinnett School District officials.
And this one, the teachers were trying to do a cross-curricular activity.
Spokesperson Sloan Roach says the third grade teachers were attempting to cross curriculums, adding some social studies lessons into math problems. But the problem with these questions, there's no historical context.
We understand that there are concerns about these questions and we agree that these questions were not appropriate.
Whoever put together this paperwork and everything else, the schools and everything shouldn't teach it this way.
The parents tell me that the principal here is collecting the assignments to shred them so they wouldn't be distributed any longer. Moving forward, they say they're going to work with the teachers to develop more appropriate questions, and they'll say they'll do a better job of reviewing them before they go home with students. We're live tonight in Gwinnett County. Carrie Kavanaugh, Channel 2 Action News.
We certainly wish we had time to unpack this with you, to let you interrogate it, but not right now, okay? Let me just say that if you look into this, you will find that around 2 weeks later, students in a different class, but in the same district who had this homework, were outside for recess, and they asked their teacher if they could play a slave game, and the teacher allowed them to chase Black students and bid on them. These children were not thinking they were superior to Black children, perhaps, before that homework assignment. It doesn't take a whole damn lot for you to with colonized curriculum, for you to promote racism, sexism, classism. Okay, one more. And in this one, all right, this was 2023, where a teacher was doing a Harriet Tubman lesson plan, and she allowed a white 2-year-old, toddler, 2-year-old, to handcuff, as you see in this picture, as well as take the fingerprints of this little Black girl. Just imagine the racial trauma. Imagine what this little 2-year-old white child now feels about Black people, and imagine what other students in the class learned. No surprise either that it's in Florida. So intent. Well, you could be saying, well, I don't think the teachers intended this. We don't care about whether they intended it or not. The word is disparate impact. And that means whether you intended it or not, the outcome is the same. So let's say the teacher intended to do this, the teachers. Let's say they did not. The outcome is the same. Trauma, perhaps racism promoted, and more. Okay. So now let's look at what culturally responsive curriculum is. And we're borrowing a very famous term from Rudine Sims Bishop. And it is the notion of providing children with mirrors and windows. We are saying that, first of all children need multicultural curriculum at the highest level, all. But when we talk about mirrors and windows, we're saying that too often right now, minoritized children, they get windows to look at what other children have done, other people have done. They seldom get mirrors to see themselves reflected and affirmed. We are not just talking about reflected like those 3 slides above. We're talking about reflected and affirmed, like we're going to share with you, so that they feel a sense of belonging, okay? They feel valued and welcomed, not just at the table, but in the classroom and in every lesson plan that you do. So mirrors and windows, that's what we're talking about. We need more mirrors. So the model, there's only one. And if we were betting people, we would bet you that probably more than half of you have never heard of James Banks, the father of multicultural curriculum. The father of multicultural curriculum. I didn't say education, I said curriculum. Education was all of that above those, in those circles, all right? Oblong circles, all right? So we are not talking about that. We're just talking about specifically curriculum. He has the only model that we are aware of and we look all the time, that focuses on how to make curriculum multicultural at the highest levels. So we're going to go through this. So what you currently see is, because teachers have not been trained in multicultural curriculum, all right, they currently are at the lowest level, which is the most dangerous. Which is red. We want you at the highest level, certainly green, but blue gets you there. So we want to flip this so that the model looks like this. Green, social action, social approach is the highest level. And let's get away from that dangerous, okay? So now let's make this larger so that you can see it. Keep those colors in mind. All right, so contributions approach, contributions level. Just look at it, just keep in mind this: food, fun, fashion, folklore, the 4 F's. This is where we consistently focus on almost the same heroes, the same holidays. And these heroes, by the way, are usually dead people. What the hell else can they do? We need to move on and have live people in the curriculum. And Dr. Hines and I just wrote an article about this in terms of looking at heroes who are alive today and the same age as children, all right, in the STEM field is what we focused on. But heroes who are alive, holidays, and discrete cultural elements, food, fun, fashion, folklore.
So the problem with this is that it's superficial in its surface level understanding of racial and cultural different groups, right? And they tend to perpetuate stereotypes that may be learned or reinforced. So, for example, we could talk about, oh, fried chicken. Oh, Black folks love fried chicken. Well, that is a reinforced stereotype, and that may not necessarily be true of all Black people. So we have to get beyond this level and go deeper into relationship building and understanding other culturally and racially diverse groups.
Now, Dr. Hines used fried chicken, and you just made me think of something, Dr. Hines, and that is
Yes.
the election. In this election, 2024, this one man had the caudacity, that's a word I made up, caudacity, to talk about damn watermelon, okay, and Black people. So there you go. The less you know about us, the more you make up. Food, fun, fashion, folklore. Come dressed in African American attire. Come dressed like animals. Now, okay, my temper is about to explode. Let me move forward. Banks's additive or approach and level. This is where you start adding multicultural concepts and themes, content to perspectives to the curriculum. Listen carefully, but you do not change the structure of the curriculum. So here it would be like Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month. You know what? If we're talking about gender, we could say Women's History Month, okay? Mainstream perspectives still dominate. Mainstream perspectives are the norm and are the standard. We're going to give you some keywords to go with additive in a few.
And the problem with this level is students fail to understand how the predominant culture interacts with and is related to or codependent upon racially and culturally diverse groups. Basically, this is a politically correct and safe way, and more so less controversial way to talk about different groups. And we see that now with a lot of the policies that have been acted, particularly in the southern states, when it comes to talking about what is considered diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the real truth about a lot of cultural groups, particularly those who have been historically oppressed, doesn't really come out. So we'll talk about Martin Luther King Day, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Day, but we won't talk about all the things that he had to experience in the process of getting to where civil rights for African Americans became prevalent, and in the passage of the civil rights legislation as well.
And we will talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., but we will not talk about Malcolm X.
Nope, that too.
They both were focusing on the same purpose, civil rights, but in their own way. So we're going to go with the more palatable person. And by the way, I have respect for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So I
Mhm.
don't mean that in a negative way, but I'm talking in terms of
Mhm.
how people view and compare the two, and then
Mhm.
do not put Malcolm X into the curriculum. We will talk about classism, but we won't talk about racism. Both of those
Mhm.
are horrific. All right, they're a problem. But which one are you more comfortable with? That's the one. And we have an almost all female population. We'll talk about sexism, but we won't talk about racism. This is being at the additive level. Now we're getting here. Haven't arrived, but we're getting here with Banks's transformation level / approach. And we put it here as through the eyes of the curriculum is transformed so that students can view concepts, issue, things, events, etc., perspectives from different perspectives, from the experiences of racial and cultural groups, all right, from opposing perspectives. For example, the election, Democrats and Republicans, all right, from multiple perspectives. We want to hear from Dr. Hines, we want to hear from Dr. Ford, we want to hear from Dr. Handy, all right? So that would be multiple. We may have the same perspective, but we may not. At least is more than one. It's not polemic. This increases intelligence, critical thinking. Okay. And will students feel a little discomfort? Yeah. I believe in the pedagogy of discomfort. No pain, no gain. When we have colonized curriculum, we experience damn pain all the damn time. So other children can experience it as well. And I'm not saying inflict it intentionally. I'm just saying no pain, no gain. All right. And there are no problems.
And the promises is that, as Dr. Ford said, the curriculum is transformed. And part of transformation and learning is that the pain is helping us go through the process, which turns into empathy being promoted. We talk about this in culturally responsive counseling and culturally responsive education. When you can empathize with a racial group, then change can come. And then understanding all racial groups and being able to help everyone not only get along, but to belong, thus changing into the decolonized curriculum. Also, this can be applicable to all subjects at all times.
Yes, and speaking of all subjects at all times, there's I have a book called Multicultural Physical Education. What about multicultural or ethno
Mhm.
centric mathematics, STEM?
Mhm.
Okay, so we don't just have to have it in literature and music and art. We're talking about every single subject area is transformed. And the highest level in an approach is the social action, also referred to as social justice. Change is the goal. And more so than equality, equity is the focus. Students get to focus on important social and cultural issues, and they get to take action in your class or make recommendations for a change. So, some children, we're talking about this little 2-year-olds, they may not, don't have the wherewithal to actually affect change, but they can be thinking about it. I worked with some preschoolers one time, and we were reading ABC book. And in it, it had something like E is for Eskimo and I is for Indian. And it was just all kinds of stereotypes. And I taught children the correct terms for the different groups. We actually looked at actual photos instead of just drawings, things like that. And then I asked them now, what did they like or dislike about the book? And I took their ideas and wrote it up for them. We sent it to the publisher and the author. Did they change it? We don't know, but the students felt empowered. And minoritized children, let's say we had indigenous children in the classroom, they felt a sense of belonging, and other children in the class, going back to transformation, felt empathy. How do you think that those indigenous children, our indigenous peers and classmates, felt? transformation and social action go hand in glove.
Yes. And the promise is that students are not only empowered, they feel ownership because they see themselves in the curriculum to resolve the social issues, the problems, and injustices. And that's the important part of connecting the curriculum to our students' lived experiences, particularly Black students and other students of color. Because if they can understand how the curriculum relates to their life, they'll be able to understand how to continue to take social action at a level that will improve and enhance their communities.
So we know we had to go quickly because of time. We want to just give you keywords, memorize them, please. So the first one for contributions, the 4 F's, food, fun, fashion, folklore.
Additive, again, it's a surface level, safe, appendage, temporary, polemic.
Transformation, multiple views, opposing perspectives, empathy promoted, and we're talking about all subject areas.
And social action, which is change, empowerment, equity, and justice.
Okay, so we're getting to my model. So we just want to remind you about Bloom's taxonomy and that the highest level is now synthesis / creating. Please keep that in mind. We're not going to go over Bloom's taxonomy. You please get a Bloom's wheel. We find them very helpful. Okay, so here's what I did in 1999, and it's been updated. Michelle Fraser Trotman Scott color coded this for me. So it's called my Forbes Bloom Banks Matrix. This is about promoting critical thinking, so decolonizing children's minds, all right, or preventing decolonization of their minds and decolonizing the curriculum. So here I bloomed it with Bloom's taxonomy and I banked it with James Banks's 4 levels. Okay. So there are 24 cells in 4 quadrants. We're not going to go over all of them. I forgot to mention that QR code on the first slide is my website, and there's lots of lesson plans and matrices and articles surrounding this matrix. So anyway, as you can see, red and red is dangerous. No child should be subjected, should be punished with this low level, I'll just say curriculum. Okay. It is horrendous. This is not rigor. This is what I call rigor mortis. They are getting rigor mortis. It's at the lowest level of Bloom. And then it's at food, fun, fashion, safe, appendage, etc. Polemic of Banks's, okay? So I hope you can at least read one of those cells as we move forward for the sake of time. Then we have yellow, and I refer to this oftentimes as gifted intelligent education. Students are doing critical thinking and problem solving, but about nothing, about garbage, food, fun, fashion, folklore. All right. Don't subject any child to this, and in a temporary, safe, polemic way. We've got to get to higher levels. So critical thinking, there's rigor rather than rigor mortis, but look what it's focusing on. This is colonized curriculum at contributions and additive. Next, this is the blue, and we're talking about there is rigor mortis again, but it's at the highest level of Banks's model. Don't do that. Don't give our children rigor mortis when you're talking about us and supposed to be talking about us in damn substantive ways. When you're supposed to be promoting social action, kids gonna be damn falling asleep when you're talking about this. So they're gonna miss it. All right. Rigor mortis. So it's not bloomed, and then it's but it's banked. Problem. Okay. Here's where we need to be. And by the way, this is with all children. If you got 6,000 children in your school district, this is for 6,000 children, not just those who have been identified as gifted and talented. All right. So here's where you actually bloomed it and banked it. Green is go. At the highest level is where it's creating. And this is, synthesis, and where is social action. So students create a plan of action to address social and cultural issues in their school building with what they read, you name it, okay? And again, they create a plan and hopefully they can implement it, bloom it and bank it, rigor and at the highest levels. So that is the curriculum. And I just want to go ahead and do something that we didn't agree to. And that is, I feel compelled to see if there are any questions since we've been going so quickly.
There has been a question in the chat. What positive impact does the teacher or instructor's race, gender, or cultural orientation have on increasing the sense of belonging among minoritized students?
Well, wonderful question. And there is a lot of research on racial and ethnic matching. Okay, so please look that up, racial and ethnic matching. And this is in P to 12, and this is also in higher education. Every study that I've ever read, I want to make sure I say this right. Every study that I've read has shown that when teachers are of the same race and ethnicity as their students, there is increased belonging. There's increased actually achievement as well. There can be increased attendance. Right now, only 1% of teachers, we talk about P to 12, look like Dr. Hines. 5 or 6% look like me. So our children are desperate for more people of color to be their teachers. Now listen carefully. So we don't have time to wait for the teaching profession to get more diverse. We're working on it desperately. So in the meantime, this is why we teach about anti-racist, culturally responsive teachers, anti-racist, culturally responsive school counselors, and more. We want both. We want whites who are anti-racist and culturally responsive, and we want more minoritized populations. And yes, educators. And yes, we must be anti-racist and culturally responsive as well. Is okay, we can move forward.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I forgot with this slide here, we're not giving you, oh, this is something else to do. No, this is decolonizing your curriculum. Take what you've already taught teachers, instructors, professors, school counselors. Take what you've already done and you're going to bloom it and bank it. Take an empty matrix. Take all of your activities, all of your material, okay, all of your questions, all of the projects, and put them in the cell, not just a quadrant, but the cell that they belong in. And then we want you to pay attention and make sure that you get over there in quadrant 4. That's where the majority and preferably all of your items should be. So take the previous lessons and do this. You can have more than one item in a cell, and just be, when you first start, after you fill in these empty cells, just brainstorm, let the ideas flow. All right. You want to add anything, Dr. Hines?
No. Go to the next one. We have about probably 12 minutes left, so we want to leave some room for question and answer. So we probably speed through a little faster.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Dr. Ford. Go ahead.
Culturally responsive instruction. Dr. Hines.
All right. Afrocentric Cultural Styles by Boykin, kind of the culturally responsive curriculum here. So Boykin's Afrocentric cultural styles help to inform educated dispositions, skills, and knowledge to better develop relationships, engage in behavior management, better communicate with students, and use culturally responsive teaching styles to adjust to a diversity as well as an inclusive variety of learning styles. And it's also used to engage in culturally responsive approaches to assessment.
All right.
Next slide. There we
Next
go.
slide. So please search for some culture icebergs. We love them. And we're not going to go obviously through each one of these, but food, fun, fashion, folklore is above the iceberg. And you know, the food that you eat, that matters, but why does it matter? That takes it below. The way we dress, that matters, but take it below. So you can take the 4 F's and give it some rigor. So it, you know, and decolonize it. Okay. So, you know, why do we like that particular genre of music? Okay, etc. So yeah, the above the surface can go down. This is like body language, facial expressions, and notions of right and wrong. Okay, notions of time, proximity, and more. What we want to do, so that's your iceberg, okay? Who you are as a cultural being. We want to make sure that you don't clash with your students. So there still is the curriculum, but it's also the culture in terms of instruction. So let's take a look at one example of a cultural iceberg as we promised. And this is A. Wade Boykin's Afrocentric cultural styles. Okay.
Mhm.
We're not going to go above the surface. We're going below. And that is, let's start with spirituality. Now keep this in mind. When you see these 9, I'm sorry, let me back up. When you see these 9 assets, these 9 cultural assets, that means there's a high propensity that it is a Black person. Does it mean that other people are not spiritual? That's not what we're saying. That other people are not communal? We're not saying that. We're saying when you put this together, and whites, you know, you have your iceberg, you know, and you are not homogenic. You are heterogenic. So look at the different subgroups among, you know, with you. Look at the different subgroups with Hispanics or Latino people. Looking at different subgroups with Asians. But this right here, and yes, we could do this with the continent. It is not a country. It's called Africa, the continent, okay? The continent of Africa. We could do it with all the different continents, all the different countries, not just the continent, okay? But this is us, Black Americans, US Americans. So spirituality, research over and over and over again documents that Blacks are the most spiritual. We're not talking about religious, the most spiritual, the most faithful of all groups in the US. Okay, so what are you going to do from an instructional strategy? You want to instill, as we said, belongingness, but the word we want to use right now is hope and optimism with your students. Donna, I know that it's going to be a long week and we have a test when you come back on Monday. I'm going to be thinking about you, and you know you're going to do okay. That's promoting hope through spirituality. Affect is strong feelings and emotions, and you can see that in me. I can't just sit back and be, just have this boring voice. I can't think of the word that comes to mind right now, but monotone voice. I'm into what we're talking about right now, and I hope you are too. So I'm feeling it. So we have strong emotions, and that does not mean we're not intellect, because I sure as hell am. All right. Intellectual. All right. Yeah, I'm both. Okay. So very emotional. We love strong. We hate strong. So from day one, you got to make sure that you're building a relationship with us, and we will love you.
Harmony. In school settings, Black students need to feel like they belong and are welcomed by educators. Fitting in and belonging are important in school and academic settings. Thus, it is essential for educators to build relationships with students of color rather than build walls or barriers. Get to know your students, their hobbies, interests, goals, dreams, and combine them with valuable learning experiences. So that's Boykin's Harmony. The next one is movement. Black students are tactile and have kinesthetic orientations, especially Black males. Learners of color enjoy work that is hands-on and involve physical activity. So we always encourage educators to create activities within their curriculum that engage students in movements such as group work, or having students do work in multiple academic stations, like how you will have in elementary schools, where they'll do a social studies assignment at one station and part of the classroom, and then a math assignment on the other side of the classroom. It is important to note for students of color, they do not have ADHD. Let's talk about Black students. They do not have ADHD, particularly Black males. If they're not moving, then there is a problem. So we must stop with all the referrals. So that comes with being culturally responsive and knowing student groups and student backgrounds. When we
That
talk about, go ahead, Dr. Ford. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I just this is affect at work again. I just got excited and I interrupted my colleague. And that is the term vervistic. It means
Mhm.
active, oriented, alive, energetic, demonstrative.
Mhm.
Look at my hands right here. All right, I'm not performing. This is just me. I'm just excited. Okay, so vervistic, we are not hyperactive, as Dr. Hines said. If we're not moving, we think it's something's wrong. So make sure that there is active learning involved and tactile kinesthetic, as was said. And if you're anyway, let's keep going. All right. The next one is expressive individualism, and the word for that is creativity, creative. And remember, that's the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy, and it's, in my matrix, okay, on that right-hand side. So we are researched by Harry Passow. He is considered the father of creativity, okay? Passow, he did dozens and dozens of studies on low-income children and Black children. And he found that children who live in poverty are more creative than children who are higher income. He found that Blacks tend to be the most creative of all populations. So keep in mind, creativity is one of the areas of gifted and talentedness. It's one of the 5 recognized areas. So you need to promote it. We are unique in our thinking. We are flexible. We know how to think outside the box. And the bottom line is we know how to make a way out of no way. That's creative writing. We're creative with our words. This is where you can hear slang. We're creative in so many ways.
Communalism. When we talk about communalism, many communities of color tend to be collectivist and interdependent. Learners of color prefer to work in groups, want to engage with their peers, and need support from their families. Therefore, when we talk about community colors, they can benefit from the aforementioned stakeholders being involved in school, as well as the schools creating a culture that welcomes families and friends. Because in many communities of colors, if you think about it, the village, it takes a village to raise a child, meaning that the academic and social well-being is more of a communal approach rather than an individual approach for students.
And we are being mindful of time. We have one more slide, and it's just something for you to look at. All right, but oral tradition is very prevalent in the Black community. When we are talking about, in particular, Black males, you can think about President Obama. There was a book written by him, by Aleem, and it's called Articulate While Black. First of all, articulate is a racist term, so it was intentionally used, okay? So articulate while Black, like the damn president, a future president, a Black person, an attorney, etc., wouldn't be able to speak well, okay? It's a problem, okay? So let me move forward with that one. But that's, we talk about our preachers and our pastors, okay? They are phenomenal with their speaking. To speak is to perform. And so when it comes to our Black girls, we are often very blunt and direct. And you can see that's how I am. I tell it like it is. I don't mince my words. And but I was doing so well in school, they left me alone. I didn't get sent to the office too much. Okay. But it would be like, why the hell we doing this stupid assignment? And yeah, I cursed early. Why we got to do this? Why we got to study Abe Lincoln? He damn dead. What he got to do different this year? Okay, we read about him in the 1st grade. We read about him in the 2nd grade. Now I'm in the 7th grade and he's still dead. Why we got to learn about him? This is stupid, right? You just don't want to do any you just don't want to do any work for us to be able to do better. So you the problem. All right. Now I'm going to the office. Okay. So we got to teach our girls not to lie, but to tone it down a little bit and be less blunt. It is not a deficit. It is an asset, because on my report card, I always said talkative. And what do? I thought it was good. So I talked more because it was next to these A's and A pluses. And what do I do for a living? I talk. Don't take it away. Add. Social time perspective. It is what we're doing right now. I'm almost out of breath. Okay. And that is, there's two terms, monochronic. With Dr. Ford and Dr. Hines, the session starts at 1:30 and it ends at 2:15. We're talking about Eastern time. Okay. So, and it's 2:15 now, by the way. So that's being monochronic. And it's like, Lord, it is like, anyway, you see, it is so hard because we tend to be polychronic. It's like, damn, the world not gonna end. This conference gonna be okay because we went over just by a little bit. The event is the master, not the clock. So we call that CPT, color people's time. And the majority of the world, not just Blacks, are polychronic. So
Right.
got to teach us time management and organizational skills. So I have to stop. We have to stop. Take this diagram, this picture, and look at our assets, not deficits. Think of a child or a student, college students you had issues with. Did you see these in them? Look at what were their strengths. What concerns did you have? What's your current teaching style? And now, what are you going to change to decolonize your instruction? Woo! Thank you on behalf of me and Dr. Hines. Do we have a few minutes for questions? We're only 1 minute over.
You are, and thank you, Dr. Ford and Dr. Hines, and thank you to the audience for your participation in today's session. I'm grateful that Drs. Ford and Hines are willing to stay over if they're interested in answering, or if you have any questions to ask, excuse me. Stephanie was kind enough to put the link for the conference evaluation into the chat. We hope all of you got so much wonderful information from this session. Dr. Ford and Dr. Hines, I'm leaving feeling very inspired and can't wait to look more closely at your websites. Thank you both so much. We appreciate your time and coming to present at the Teaching and Learning Conference here at UAGC. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Opportunity. We'll stay for questions if there are any. So we know that people are signing off. Can they be unmuted to answer any questions? I see there are 28 questions in the chat.
There was only one question in particular, Dr. Ford, a lot of thank yous and a lot of notes of appreciation. Teresa Handy shared the links to your websites. No question. Thank you for the content, passion. There is a huge question in the chat. Yolanda, let's see if I can unmute you. Let's see if I can find you.
Okay, and I'm just keeping the slides up in case somebody wanted us to go back. Okay.
Stephanie, I don't know if you're able to unmute Yolanda. I'm not able to unmute her.
I just did.
Okay, thank you. Yolanda, would you like to ask your question?
I think you unmuted me. That was Tamika, not Yolanda.
Yolanda is unmuted also.
Well, Tamika, did you have a question or comment?
No, ma'am, I didn't have a question, but I will say I so appreciate not just the content, but your delivery. And I made that comment that passion has a purpose. Sometimes we really try to be careful of the ways we deliver the information. And I think the person with the passion should be presenting. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I love it. Great quote. Yolanda?
I can read Yolanda's comment and question. Thank you for including an Afrocentric model and for mentioning spirituality and communalism, etc. I am sure you are aware that Maslow's earlier model had transcendence, spiritual needs at the top, but was removed from subsequent versions. However, for some cultural groups, as you illustrated, this need is interconnected with all other needs and is illogical to be placed in a hierarchical framework at one specific level, and even more illogical to be completely excluded from the framework. What concerns are there related to the need to decolonize foundational theories and models promoted by mainstream educators, such as Maslow's hierarchy, which research has demonstrated does not accurately reflect the realities of many minoritized individuals?
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope Yolanda's here to hear the answer. And I'm sorry I'm jumping in and going first, Dr. Hines, but that's a fantastic question, a very much needed question. And we've written about this as well. In fact, we have an article coming out where Dr. Hines, can you unmute yourself about our ecological model? Describe that a little bit. So we have looked at previous theories that were not written with Black and other minoritized people in mind. And so you take that theory and, I don't know if you can see my hands, and we've added some culture to it. We do that with all of our work. And we wish we had time to explain that a little bit in terms of Yolanda's question in this session, but very valid. So Dr. Hines, can you give me?
So we just, this is the fourth revision. So we submitted an article about twice exceptionality and Black males. And what we did is we looked at the Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory, the development theory, and then we merged it with Boykin's Afrocentric cultural framework to both talk about how we can help Black boys who are 2E be successful in the context and an environment which they're learning and they're growing up. And part of that context is ensuring that we implement the cultural styles that educators must know about in order to best engage 2E Black males in the school setting, in the classroom setting, rather.
Yeah, I mean, that's happening as we speak. Okay, that's just one example. And we have other examples where we've written about this in diverse issues in higher education.
Yeah, yes, I could put the title in the chat. It will, so I'll do a little plug too. It should be out in the winter issue of the Educational Psychologist Journal.
Okay. Well,
I'm
I
gonna
know.
drop the title right.
Okay, and as Dr. Hines does that, unless there's a burning question, I know that you all have other sessions to go to. We want to be respectful, of that, even though, we are polychronic. Okay.
Thanks, Dr. Ford. Thanks, Dr. Hines. It's Teresa Handy. We appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you for still being here so that we could say thank you to you as well.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, you too.